Hi, everyone. Welcome to this hot take with CITL. I'm Samantha Goldman, a graduate research assistant on Project CITL, joined by Dr. Sean Smith, who is a co-PI on CITL and also the PI of Project VOISS.
Well, thanks, Samantha. As Samantha mentioned, I'm principal investigator on a project called the Virtual Reality Opportunities to Implement Social Skills, or as we like to refer to as VOISS, as in students have a voice, although it's not the CE, but SS. The project is actually funded by the Department of Education, Office of Special Education Programs, under a Stepping Up project. And it has two parts to it. Now, I'm going to mention the first part, and that's VOISS. Now, VOISS is an app, as the arrow suggests, for students. And I'll mention the students here in just a moment, but I want to emphasize the platforms. Folks think virtual reality and they think of this Oculus, or they think of other headsets, and it can be used for that. And certainly it was designed in Unity to be used for that, but it's also available on a iPad or anything off the App Store. It's available on your Chromebook, which is what about 60% of our students in the K-12 environment are using Chromebooks, and of course Windows, and the list goes on. The advisor is for educators, and that's for another conversation, which we'll record here in a little bit. But let's move on. So to begin with, let's make sure we're all on the same page. Students that we are working with that are identified with disabilities, students on the autism spectrum, students with learning disabilities, definitely have challenges when it comes to social skill development, social emotional competence, etc. But we also know, definitely from the post-pandemic, that there's a number of individuals that have social skills, social emotional learning needs. And so therefore, that's where we're seeking to address through VOISS. And of course, everything in terms of the development, we've learned that social emotional competence can lead to academic achievement, the ability to collaborate, graduation scores, peer acceptance, peer development, and a host of other components. So it's a vital area, and it's an area that needs some support. And so I can go on and on with benefits, but let me kind of connect the dots or put the pieces of the puzzle together for you. So to begin with, as I mentioned, VOISS itself is a virtual reality experience. And what we do is we have, as I mentioned, across the platforms, we've created a variety of scenarios. And you can see here everything from the hallway to outside to the PE to the classroom. And we have a variety of avatars there. And although they may look a little bit older, they're meant to be focused on the middle school environment, although we'll go up to high school as well. And actually, our research has been primarily with 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. And we've been shown to be quite effective, not only in learning knowledge and skills, but also generalizing. And we've compared this against the PEERS program out of UCLA, and it's been shown to be actually much more effective in overall pre-post data in social emotional skill and development. So our overall focus of VOISS is a perspective-taking experience. The individuals log in, and I'll show you a little bit about logging in, et cetera, but they basically are interacting with avatars, and the avatars are preset, and the stories themselves, or the experiences, or what we call scenarios, are all pre-programmed. So the avatars are all basically associated with a scenario, and based on what I do as a user, the avatars will respond based on the pre-programmed or the predetermined pathway affiliated with that scenario. So if I select something that would be an incorrect response, the avatar might respond in a manner that would be very similar to what they would experience in a classroom or in the school environment. And then we have a virtual learning coach that will offer some explicit pre-scripted solutions, supports, next steps. And so let me go ahead and share with you a little bit more about this in terms of examples, but I did mention the 140 scenarios. There are 183 social skills that we're addressing. So each scenario has 2 or 3, maybe more skills that we're trying to focus in on. And we've organized them across 10 unique social skill domains, and I'll share those in just a moment. So, and I mentioned before, middle school audience and the teachers. So the domains themselves focus in on specific areas. And so this is how the individual enter. They log in, they have an access code, they enter. And these are 5 of the 10 scenarios, domains. And so this is part 1. So VOISS itself downloads as a part 1 and part 2 due to its size. But one of the domains is self-awareness and advocacy. Another domain is self-regulation. Critical thinking is a third. Executive organization is a fourth. Domain 5 is receptive communication. Now you may be saying, well, Sean, where did you come up with these domains? Well, we looked at the 20 odd tools used to diagnose social skills, like the SSIS, the ASSP. We also looked at the literature in terms of how they've defined elements of social skill, social emotional development. And from that, we organized ourselves into 10 domains to organize 140 scenarios. Now, with that, we got feedback from the field, experts, et cetera, to further clarify how we should organize it. So, for example, in relationship skills, we have 17 specific scenarios and some additional scenarios that go beyond it. But each scenario is organized into a task. So, for example, respond to offers to join in and ask to join in, have 3 specific scenarios to try to help with that task. Or understands sarcasm, figurative language, and slang, we have 2 specific scenarios to assist there. So the user would select a task, and in this instance, it's response to offers. And there's knowing when to cooperate, collaborate activity, and shooting baskets in the gym. Now, we're not trying to teach them the skill of shooting baskets in the gym. It's rather in that situation, they're asked to join in and asked to join in, and we simulate that through a scenario there. Now, as the individual goes through, they go through everything from starting the scenario to being stopped with questions to being responding to and interacting with, and they can navigate through. And in this instance, the individuals actually tossed a ball. They need to respond to how to toss it back, etc. And it's not, again, towards basketball as it is towards the actual scenario and the situation that would be responding, offering to join in, etc. As I mentioned, a number of visuals before. So let me go ahead and give you an example here. So this is a hallway example where the individual will have someone in their locker. So I'll get it started. And then from that getting started, you'll see, I'll stop it and we'll take a look at it. So let's go ahead and get this started here.
As I'm in the midst of applying for residency.
We have a bit of
right
a
now,
advertisement here.
Been a lifesaver with my application.
So here we go. So they're logging in, and let's go ahead and pop them into getting started in the hallway. So here we go.
Walking through the hallway between classes can be a challenge. Knowing who to talk to and getting things from your locker before the next period are just a couple challenges. Brian is in the way. You'll want to kindly ask him to move.
So in this instance, the individual is giving a chance to select one of the 4. They select one of the 4.
Too bad. I'm not moving.
They're giving a chance again to select based on what that response was.
Just standing near a person and looking at the floor without saying what you need can confuse that person. Brian can't read your mind. You need to tell him what you need.
What the heck? You could have asked me to move.
So what you saw here in this scenario is several different things. First of all, it's a scenario. You saw that the individuals came, they want someone to move from their locker. They're given 4 opportunities. And in those opportunities, some of them are totally incorrect. Some of them are correct. And of course, we have responses based on what you want to respond to. So one response was, well, the avatar is going to respond in that manner. And then, of course, you got that coach to come in and say, well, let's think about that. And let's think about what we're asking the individual to do, et cetera. So that immediate kind of coaching on the social aspect. But then also the next one is this student is moving from, we selected another response, and then you see what the avatar would respond to, or student might respond to. And so I stopped it, but not only did you get the avatar to react, but then that virtual coach will pop back in to explain what just took place and explain why our actions then lead to other reactions. And so I could go on and on and on, but that's a basic element of what it looks like. Let me go back to a couple other elements here to kind of reinforce. So in addition to that, what you have, and as I mentioned before, this is, for example, on the Chrome look, each one is a little different, but there's different components and different tools. They get started here, but as they navigate through, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my mouse. You'll see the fact that at times they'll be able to raise their hand, and there'll be situations where they're being asked to raise their hand, and clicking raising the hand is a response we want to understand. There'll be responses where they want to verbally respond, and that will be the microphone will come up and they'll see that they're actually responding. And there's other ways to navigate it. This will take them through being able to stop and start again, go to another scenario. This is their progress bar, etc. And as we illustrated, these questions will pop up probably 3 or 4 times per scenario, where the individual will need to think about. They can listen to it as well. Click, respond, and based on their response, you'll see the avatar may react, the coach may react, et cetera, et cetera. That in a nutshell is the VOISS app. And again, it's available on the Chromebook, it's available on the iPad, it's available basically in the Play Store and the App Store, as well as Windows, as well as Oculus, and a number of other platforms, depending upon what folks are using.
So cool. There's so much potential and so much usage of this, both in our classrooms and in our teacher preparation programs. I can't wait to learn more. Thanks for coming and sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.